I'm Linda Deir, and
I'm Ray Holley.
Each week in Linda's weekly guided insights, I ask my guides, what's the most important thing for you to know right now? We channel these insights using Ask the Universal channel, the same way your guides interact with you in a personal angel coaching session with me. All angel coaching sessions are done with you on live video and over the phone. I'm the author of Guided, winner of the 2017 Body, Mind, Spirit Book Award. My Guided Journey is the companion journal to Guided. It was the readers, coaching clients, and fans of Guided who brought this journal out of me by wanting to learn what Guided teaches. It's my fourth book and now available on Amazon. This is the final version with 176 pages of what used to be the 40-page work in progress. It includes 19 MP3 audio support downloads, a $5.99 value, included with your book. In support of your continued journey forward is my fifth book, My Journal Writing, and is also now available on Amazon. It's 192 pages. You can find all my books on my website at lindadeir.com/books. Tonight, the guides will be answering your questions about spiritually aware people, the silent majority. This was published today in Linda's weekly guided insights. As I'm reading this insight, listen to the messages that you will be getting. Feel what that feels like. Write your realizations into part 3 of my guided journey, because this is all guidance. After I finish reading today's insight, we will be taking your questions and comments. You will get to talk directly to your guides about what this insight means in your life. To do this, type your question or comment in the Q&A box located at the bottom of this Zoom page about what this insight triggered in you. Ray will open the mic so you can talk to us and your guides. And today's insight, spiritually aware people, the silent majority. Why is the silent spiritual majority silent? A silent majority is an unspecified large group of people who do not publicly express their beliefs or thoughts. They keep to themselves and do not show a public image. While this protects their privacy, it also isolates them and therefore doesn't help when it comes to adding to the group or community. You would think that if they were more vocal about their beliefs, then more people would join them. But the silent spiritual majority isn't like the other majorities. They keep to themselves. Their spiritual beliefs are very personal and they don't flaunt them. In the past, our spiritual majority... We have a reading playing there. Yep, no, I'm going to wait. Okay, where did that come from?
I don't know.
Okay, because I hope you don't have a video playing, babe. I don't know what that is. Okay, let's hope there's not trouble coming through.
Okay, there's not.
Okay. In the past, other spiritual majorities, like the New Age movement, flaunted their beliefs and thoughts. Okay, you want me to help you out?
No.
You got it? Okay. They sought out gurus to follow and had large gatherings that reinforced others' beliefs and lifestyles. The people who are spiritually aware don't do this. They keep their guidance to themselves. They do this because many times they are judged and ridiculed for what and who they are. So it is somewhat of a protection mechanism not to publicly flaunt their spiritual awareness. Is this positive or negative for gaining more people to this silent spiritual majority movement? It's both. Because they are silent, it's not out in the public where they can be judged or ridiculed, since they are not talking about it. It's more of a one-on-one situation where everybody finds out that their friend or someone they just met is spiritually aware and that they are very different from anyone they've ever met before. They see that as something they'd like to achieve also. They look to this new friend not as a guru, but as a teacher who is willing to share what they have learned and not force it on anyone. No systems to follow, no rituals to learn, nothing to do as a large group of people where you have to get together and go through ceremonies. Rather, it's a personal thing. It is a remembrance of the spiritual life you had before you got here. You came from a place where everyone was spiritually advanced and aware. There wasn't a silent spiritual majority. There was just a majority. Everyone. It was nothing to hide, so people didn't. It's the societal programming you experience in life that makes it difficult for spiritually aware people to express themselves. But that is all changing. People realize that you don't need a guru to follow, that once you slow down and begin to listen for the guidance that is being sent to you, you are your own teacher and healer. You first run into this guidance in your spiritual alone time, your daily escape sessions. That's when you escape this world and its distractions and concentrate on your uniqueness, your oneness, as well as your connections in the universe. The awareness is present and is recognized as this connection you have with yourself first, then with each other, then with everything in your world and everything in your universe. It's the ripple effect you've heard so much about. So being spiritually aware doesn't involve you having to do or teach anything. It's all about you being connected to all in the present moment. Summary. There's a reason why the silent spiritual majority is silent. It's the judgment and ridicule that keeps the silent spiritual majority silent. It's not necessary to be vocal about spiritual awareness. Just be your authentic self. How it works. This silent spiritual majority movement is much larger than the previous New Age movement was. It's void of entertainment and hype. It's silent. It is not based on competition and separation, but cooperation and connection. You are teaching by example, a living, walking, breathing role model. You can't be fake or worry about what others may think or do just because you are being you. You no longer dread your alone time because you have learned to harness it. You have become more sensitive and therefore aware. The consequence is that you can no longer tolerate being around harsh and angry people. The pressure of allowing that into your life would be toxic to you now. Your priorities have changed. Having reduced the distractions, you are listening and receiving our guidance. You are beginning to trust yourself. Looking for your way is a thing of the past. Every day is your way when you remain present. You are walking your talk. You are living it. You are connected.
That was good.
Okay, you guys.
Let me get everybody turned on here. Make sure everybody's working.
Yeah, let's hope they can hear me. We didn't do it.
All right, let's hold on.
Let's hold
Kathy, unmuting Kathy, unmuting Veronica.
Okay.
Unmuting Joy and unmuting Marie. We have a new person with us. Marie, we can barely see you. You might have to turn a light on.
Can the rest of you hear us okay?
Yes.
We're doing
Yes.
Great, Veronica. All right. So it's always great to be back with you guys on Tuesday nights. Before we move forward, I'm going to just say one thing. We are not going to be live on next Tuesday. Ray and I have to be somewhere. Okay. So we're unfortunately, it's going to be the first one we've ever missed, but we're going to be, here the next Tuesday after that and on and on and on. Okay. But that's just one of those Tuesdays. We just couldn't work it out, fit it in, make it happen, And if we can't do a great job, we won't do it. All right.
All right.
Okay, you guys. So what are your questions around this silent spiritual majority?
I had an observation.
See, we don't have any questions yet, so you go, Ray.
Okay. It certainly isn't like the New Age movement was.
Right.
The New Age movement was pretty loud, and I think it was real competitive.
It was younger. It was younger. It was the earlier movement, the New Age movement. Like I said last week, at the end, I believe it had to happen so this could happen. All right. So you've got it. Nobody just takes a leap. I mean, sometimes it happens, but we're talking about everybody. So it takes a little while to get through that. And there was a lot of times when people were playing with spirituality, with metaphysics. Okay. And it was just, that's how we learn. We learn like the child. That's a great way to learn anything, I think. So that was a good time. That was a good thing to have and a good place to launch from. But people have worked through that. They've got what they wanted from that. They want something else, something more. They're reaching for something that is is a more advanced stage of that, okay? And that's what this is, this silent spiritual majority. They don't need to flaunt it, but learning to live it, all right? And that's a big part of this, okay? Learning to live with this new spiritual awareness, okay? It really does interrupt every part of your life. It challenges the work you do. It challenges the people you've allowed into your life. It challenges you on every front about everything you do, why you do it, the way you're thinking, the way you feel, and honoring that. If we just summed it all up, it would be that one thing. I have this new spiritual awareness. It keeps growing. It's something I don't want to lose. We're learning what this is and becoming more because of it. And I can't afford to have those people in my life anymore because I'm faking it to be with them. I don't fit in that world anymore. So there's a lot of that's really what it comes down to. If you question yourself, if you're saying, am I being difficult? Is it that I just am being closed down and I'm just a snob? Is it because it's none of that. You want more. So just like the New Age movement moved into this silent spiritual majority, wanting more, okay, something more, I mean real, something that they can apply to their life, not just playing around stuff, That's what this is when you're when you're at your job, when you're around the people that you used to be around, that anything that you do, your standards are higher, really, is what it comes down to. So for you to tolerate that, sometimes you might question yourself. You might blame yourself because you don't fit in anymore. What's wrong with me? So the minute you go there, you just moved into doubt, and next comes fear, okay? And that's where it just like goes, and just kind of takes you out. So that you don't want to go down that road. You don't even want to start going down that road. How do you stop that? Right here. You get your journal out and you start writing so that even if you're flawed in your thinking, in the way that you are operating, in what you're allowing into your life, whatever, tolerating, write it in here so you can catch yourself. Nobody is going to see this. That's part 3. That's the journal writing, all right? And write it in here because you've got, until you can see it, until you can ground it into this world, write it in this world, you don't have any proof that that's true. You've got to put it somewhere where you can go back to it and look at it and go, and how did that make me feel? Remember that? It's the how did it make me feel? I've got these other questions in here which are important, but that's the key one. How did it make me feel? All right? And that lets you know that lets you know what you are all about now that you're the silent spiritual majority. All right? And how do you handle that? How do you manage this new silent spiritual majority that you are? How do you do that? How do you forge forward and do even better things than you ever done before? This is it right here. This is it. So how are you guys doing writing in your journal?
Good.
Don't talk about it.
What great revelations have come through this week?
Right.
Let me see.
Who are we talking to?
It's Kathy.
Okay, Kathy.
Last Thursday, my uncle, I told you that my uncle had a massive heart attack and they weren't expecting him to live. And they said it would be a miracle if he lived. And then they said it would be a miracle if they got him off the vent. And each time he's progressed past what they thought. So my guides told me last Thursday morning that it's done. We were talking about my uncle and they said it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that. And
I said, what's done? He's going to die. And they said, no, the miracle is done.
Oh.
Okay. That afternoon, the cardiologist did an echocardiogram and said, I'm not finding the damage that was there before.
Wow. Now,
So that was very, the miracle was definitely done.
okay, now, here's what I want to talk about. I just want to squeeze this in here about the miracle. Thank you for sharing that, Kathy.
Sure.
The thing about the miracle, you know what the guys have told us about the miracles? They absolutely exist.
Oh, of course.
But here's what they say about it. They say in our existence, miracles happen all the time. And they happen all the time for you too, for all of you, except you don't notice them. Most of the time, okay. So we don't see, in other words, they have miracles all the time. In fact, they have them so much they don't call them miracles anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They just call them, the continuum, the consistent awareness and catching what's going on the instant it happens. And that's why everything from where they come from is so much more illuminated and bright and colorful and clear. You know all that? Because think about that. You weigh it against living in that environment. And everything that seems to be like a miracle here is a snap of the fingers for them and for where we go to when we're not here,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting, Kathy, So these things are definitely achievable. I mean, they happen all the time, but people don't recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason why I say, when you guys ask for something, you've got to write down what you asked because you'll forget what you asked. And then whatever happened, it could be a miracle, it could be something outstanding, like what you were talking about, Kathy. And you forgot what you wrote. You forgot the question. You forgot. I had something, I kind of remember it was kind of like this, but it's never like it was, when you wrote it down. So this thing about writing this stuff down, and I hope you're writing all this down, Kathy.
Yes, I am.
Good, because what it does is it gives you, it's all leverage, you guys. This is all about it's intelligence, and it's all leverage. When you do run across something that is earth-shattering to you in your life, you will have practiced this. You will have work through this, and you'll have the history, and you will know better because you practice this 15 minutes each day, no matter what, you know. And that's what you did. That's how you got that information, is in that practice time, right, Kathy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So that's awesome. You know, there's so much more going on than we think about in that silent spiritual majority. Well, you guys, what else do we have? Veronica.
Veronica, you still there? I think she's gone. Joy?
Oh, she is? Oh, she took off. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Joy.
Hi,
Hello.
Joy.
Hello.
Joy, you are doing great, girl.
Things are confusing though a little bit. In the last week or so, I had asked advice. My grandson, they're noticing at school that they think that he needs to be evaluated. They think he's inattentive. And I did go and observe him at school, and I saw him licking his elbow and licking his knee and not paying attention. And he just turned 5.
Okay.
And so he would be kindergarten level, but he's in a special school just to learn how to speak. And but he's very, very, very intelligent, and he's kind of like a mini engineer. He'll take apart anything and put it together. And so I asked them, you know, what they thought about it, and they said they thought he was bored, that he doesn't want to be asked the same question. You know, he does the same exact thing for 1 month at a time, you know, the same sentences over and over. And he wants to, you know, things to be presented that he doesn't know the answer. And then I said, is that it? And they said, no, they don't want me to share this with his family. And because they wouldn't be supportive. And so I was like all bummed, because I'm like, I've got this good supportive information, but I'm not supposed to share it. And, you know, with his mom and dad.
So who's his mom and dad?
They're my son and daughter-in-law.
Okay, and daughter-in-law. Okay, got it. I didn't know which way that went, if it was the daughter or the son. Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel, here's a silent spiritual majority. Okay, Joy?
Yes.
You feel like you have to, you know, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
At the expense of this child's well-being, right?
Well, if he is evaluated and the evaluator says, you know, no, he doesn't meet the criteria for ADD or ADHD or something like that. I had an ADHD son, and this kid he does things when I ask him to do it. He does not seem to be that kind of kid.
Right. He's just a kid. He's just being who he is, right?
Yeah, he's just bored out of his mind, sitting there since he was 3 years old, going over words and how to sound out things.
Okay, so Joy, let's have your guides tell you how what would be the high road in handling this situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
How they see it. Have you talked with them about it, your guides?
They told me to teach him things with questions that he doesn't know about nature. You know, and then they said every, and then it said M, and I'm like, Monday, once a month. That was the only word I didn't get out of the whole thing.
Okay,
and
let's bring through some clarity on this for you, okay? With your guides. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have enough room there?
Yeah.
Okay, just as long as you do. Okay, and here they go.
Joy. The M is for mostly. Mostly, you should challenge him with things that interest him. He likes putting things together and taking them apart. therefore, challenge him with a test, a puzzle, something that's easy to disassemble and reassemble. He is more interested in how things work than how they are presented. To keep his interest, also show him the nature things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like animals or?
Not our dog, but yeah, he likes to go out and plant flowers and watch and water them and care for them, and
That's cool.
yeah.
That's great. So what's your issue around the parents with regard to
I thought that they were pretty supportive of my spiritual weirdness, and because they go to Santeria people in Mexico and have readings and cleansings and things like that. I don't know why I was advised not to mention it. Maybe it's just too sensitive a thing for them. And then 2 days later, then the guides are saying a friend of mine is having a medical issue. She has some kind of growth in her brain, and she had asked, well, can I do it with the guides? And I'm like, no, I only do it for myself, But then she ended up with this issue, and I asked, and then I had given her medical information because I'm a nurse, and she's a nurse too, and because my husband had brain issues. And then they said I shouldn't give advice without knowing the whole story. I should ask permission and talk to her guides first. So I'm like, well, now you're telling me to go and read somebody else and tell them to give them information, and then on the other hand, telling, not telling people that I'm close with information. So I'm kind of confused.
Okay. So the people that she's close with, she's saying they're telling her not to share the information. So when are they telling you to share it?
They told me in this one circumstance with a friend with a medical condition they told me that she would have tests on Monday, that she would have more information, that she would need a treatment, but it would be okay. And for her to question if there was some kind of hormonal connection to the lesion in her brain.
Right.
So I gave her that information, and she was grateful for it. I said, it's the first time I did it. If it's totally backwards, it's on me.
There you go.
But I don't believe that it was backwards, because I wouldn't have come up with that information.
Right. How did it work out for her? Hasn't she gone yet?
Yeah, she did. She had a CAT scan, and she was waiting on results of the MRI. I haven't spoken to her. I just got a text message. So it will be interesting to see how it all will pan out.
Right. Well, you're working with the process, Joy, and you're learning how to walk with it and use it, and when not to use it, just use it for yourself. And ultimately, what you'll always find is when there's that silent spiritual majority I'm going to go into now, it's so much more comfortable to do it for yourself, because you don't have to worry about backlash from anybody, not on any front, all right? So that's what's good about that, especially when it comes to somebody's health. You go to the guys and you ask for this help, and you're still learning how to do this and all. You don't want to be on the hook for that, I mean, it's not enough to be right. But if you do it for yourself, that's different. But just, silent spiritual majority. I would probably just keep that. I probably wouldn't do that. I would keep myself from going into that. Yeah, I do this, but I do it for myself. It's a pretty private thing,
Yeah.
And then if she wants to know, if you want to just test and see how you're doing, you can always channel the information like Kathy did. And she asked about her brother-in-law and got some information about it, the situation, but didn't say anything to him, right, Kathy?
Right.
Yeah. So Kathy, there's that silent spiritual majority again. We live in this world. Here's another thing about it. We live in this world filled with litigation. No, I mean, you guys, it's the world we live in. And you do something from this world and play it out in this world for someone else, and it could get you in trouble,
Yeah.
So you've got to be pretty discreet about that, and not let people push you into it, and just say, and they come up with these innocent ways of doing it, and you can see that they really are innocent about it. But should it go the other way, or the lottery ticket? There's a stupid way to use your spiritual energy anyway. But I just can't. I don't ever think that's the right thing to do. But they go out and do that. Then they go out and buy, with their last dollar, go out and buy a lottery ticket with the numbers that came through the. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
I wouldn't have channeled for her, except that they're the ones that told me to do it.
That's okay. And see, the guides don't live in this dimension. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So they don't know. I mean, they know, but it's just something that you want to use your discretion as well when you're working with your guys, because you've got to walk through this life. There's that spiritual silent majority. It's a discretionary thing. It's a thing where, you're always holding back a few cards. Guided. I kept it to myself until I was 62 years old. Okay, and when I published this, 62. Now, that's a long time to be discretionary, and silent about my life. And so it doesn't mean it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it can't work for them. But you know what? They've got to do their work, you guys. They've got to. I know this because I've had people my whole life come to me. They go, oh my God, you've got this great intuition. Can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? Can you? And I go, well, here's how you can do it. I don't want to learn how to do it. I want you to tell me what I want to know. And that's sloppy,
Yeah, it's like they're saying, I don't have time to be spiritual, so you just tell me. Just do it for me.
Just tell me so I can blame you later.
Right.
Because what'll happen is you'll tell them, and even if the information is right on target, and most of the time it will be, for the other times that it's not, it's because you got in the way. That's the only time that messes up. But most of the time you're out of your way, and you bring through good information, and you'll find that will be true. But let's say it's something that they didn't want to hear about. It's true. It's absolutely true, whatever it was. But they are upset with you because they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, or they don't want to hear about how it came through. It's like, oh my God, people just have all kinds of reactions to things. So anyway.
I have a question for the master here. People who are part of the silent majority, who are experiencing their gifts, they're learning, they're getting better, they have somewhat of an apprehension to exposing what they know, because they've always been told, keep your guidance to yourself, so so people don't judge you and things like that, or because they want you to be like them. But the better you get at it, do you think that you even more want to keep it to yourself, or do you want to share it? The better you get at it.
Well, it's interesting because as we grow spiritually, you guys, you've hit those different plateaus in your life where I can't help but go here in response to that question is you hit those plateaus where you go, I'm really loving what I'm learning. This is the best. I just love this. Then there gets to be a point where you go, but it's so lonely. It's like it's like I'm the only one that gets this, or the other people, they're in Joy's case, they're not shutting her down, but they're not, yeah, and they do a little bit of this, but they're not, it's not like what Joy's doing. Joy's really going into this. She's ready for this. And as you move through it, you'll see that you're advancing really well. And the more you're advancing, let me get my glasses. I mean, the more it brings light to the things that you can't tolerate anymore. The part of this session at the end here, where I talked about, it was in the how it works part. The pressure, okay. The consequence is that you can no longer tolerate being around harsh and angry people. Now, I know that you all know people like that, okay? And you have people that you know who they are. The pressure of allowing that in your life now would be toxic. That's what is the game changer. It's not so much that you just keep it to yourself, it's that you become more discretionary about what you allow into your life, and your priorities change. You can't help but your priorities having to change, because this is all the old world, the way that you used to live and the people you lived around, that you can't tolerate it. You literally can't stand it, because you're vibrating up here and that's vibrating down here, and it's like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Exactly.
It's just awful, So it's amazing, and even to this day, I don't talk about, Ray promotes the book. Okay, he promotes the books. That's what he does, and he really is good at it. But nobody will ever see me talking about it unless I'm actually pulled into the conversation. But I never toot my own horn, it's silent spiritual majority. See how that's strong? Even with me, So to actually do this work, when you do this work, when you take the journey, that's a bold action in part 2. You take the journey in my guided journey. When you move into that and you come out of that darkness, because it is a darkness, and we all have it, okay? Nobody can say, I had this absolutely perfect childhood. There's no way, all right? Then, why do you act that way? There's something about every one of us,
This is a very private journey.
It is. Yep.
I don't think you'd be out talking to other people about your first fear and
but what you achieve
people
from
working
this,
against you.
But what you achieve from this
is clarity.
Is for you.
Right.
And so once you have that powerful, tremendous awareness of yourself, you're alive now. You're functioning in both worlds, and you're bringing this together. Now you're operating in a way that you didn't know how to do it before. You really didn't know. There was no way to figure it out, It was the New Age movement at the time. It was still, playing in this stuff instead of really getting into it, So go ahead. Somebody wanted to say something there.
Well, I've heard, I study a lot of things. I study marketing aspects of other people in the industry, okay?
Right.
And what I've heard, which I haven't heard up until recently, is a lot of these teachers, these spiritual teachers, are saying that in order to understand where you are now, you have to go back and think like a child.
We're hearing a lot of that.
All the time.
And it's interesting, this was a work in progress for a year, and Kathy, you know that, and Joy knows that. Anyway, it's not something that, it's just something that was meant to come out. But now it's coming out like a lot, okay? And I guess everybody's take on it's different, but that's where the power really is. When you go back and you do that early work, and you look in there and find what that was, and put those pieces together, it becomes your story, okay, your journey. And it's just, how are you guys doing with that, taking the journey?
Uh-oh, everybody left but me.
Well, Well, something happened along. They
Yeah,
probably.
I think a lot of people are having storms.
We're having them here.
Yeah, we're having storms here, but I
Yes.
think they have a lot of tornadoes around the country and a lot of bad storms.
They come
Yeah.
back. They come
They
back.
just blinked out. Yeah.
Well, you got us all to yourself, Joy.
I'm the luckiest one.
You are great. We love you.
I'm really feeling very, very positive about this whole process.
I
And
know you're doing so well with it, Joy. You really are.
Well, I hear people talking about, you
Okay.
got to think like a child, but nobody's telling them how to do that.
Right. I know that. It's preaching instead of really giving them the information.
Preaching instead of teaching.
yeah, I've heard that from many of my other teachers too, about, childlike wonder, and before you're taught, to disregard so many things, and to react differently than you would, in a natural state.
But they don't put you in that state. See,
No.
that's what's different about my guided journey. When we did the videos and we've got the audio tracks on that, it puts you in that state. It
Yes.
reminds you. It puts you there, and then you figure it out for yourself. You remember.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes this so different.
It's the triggers in the book that push you past the barriers of you just trying to think, well, what did I do when I was 2 years old, or what did I do when I was 4 years old? I can't remember.
That's right. It's
Most
the
people
triggers.
can't remember much that happened in their life before the age of like 4 or 5, and that's what makes the book different, because it takes you by the hand and walks you backwards,
It does.
step at a time.
See, that's what Ray did. He started on chapter 14
Right.
and went back to 1. Okay, because starting on 1 was like, he was too fast. But going forward, where he felt in his power, his strongest part of his life, he started there and he moved back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was the interesting. I always say that's the bully effect, by the way. But that's a good bully, because you start with the easiest one first, Joy, and then you do the next one, and what looked so monumental and difficult is easy now once you take it down like that. So where are you in your journal?
In part 2, I'm like doing what Ray did, starting back, and because I've heard so many stories about when I was little, and then you wonder if the stories are something you remembered or if they're just something you heard along the way.
Rhetoric.
And
Childhood rhetoric.
yes,
Yeah. Because they're always telling these stories, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. You know how you know the difference?
Mm-mm.
By the way it feels. Because see, kids are the biggest BS detectors there are. When we're little, we can smell it a mile away.
Yeah.
You know why? Because where we came from, we're fresh from the other side, where there are no liars. And there's no liars on the other side, because everything is telepathic. So how could anyone get away with lying? It doesn't work. Yeah. So that's how the little kid is a BS detector. They're so good at it. They come in with it. And then something along the way, batters them down, and they start doubting themselves and feeling like they're not this enough or that enough,
Yeah.
And that's why with your little grandchild, he doesn't need to know what the adults or whatever are saying about what his condition is,
Yeah.
I mean, that defeats the person before they even start.
Yeah.
I think that, here's what I think on the deal. I think you have to side with the kid way over like 90 degrees, so that if you got to give that kid every chance to be its unique self and express it, okay, before society gets a hold of it, and tries to, and then if the child has a problem, it's not so bad. The child knows more about himself. He likes who he is. He's discovered some of the things that he really enjoys to do, and he's going to be okay, even if there is something, right? So I agree with that a whole lot. He now that I've gotten older, the way they teach and push everybody into the same puzzle things, everybody's different, and they should be looking at each child and saying, oh, look at the talent this one has in this area. Maybe we'll present them with more of that instead of everybody learning the same exact thing. Oh, God.
Right. I mean,
that is so true.
You have to let the child expand into who they are.
Right.
Rather than being told who they are or labeled.
Oh, being labeled is the worst. It's the absolute worst. They spend a whole lifetime getting over that.
Yeah. And then if they're not good at some of those basic things, then they're bad.
And you know what? They're really, really, really good at something else that nobody else can do. Right. So, that's what's wrong.
Yep.
That's totally wrong.
Yep.
So how do you get in there, Joy, the grandmother? How do you get in there and give this kid what he needs, and keep the system from interrupting him?
Yeah.
How old is he?
How old? He's 5.
He's 5 now.
Yeah.
I'd take him out. I'd take him out to science museums.
Yeah. And doing things. There's all kinds of kits and things we can do together. And
that's right there. What you just said, Joy, when you said that we can do together.
Yeah.
See, what most people do, they buy the toy. Here, kid, you learn it. They don't even bother with the kid. When you said together, that's the key right there.
Yeah.
And when it includes love, like from you, I mean, there's nothing that kid can't do, especially when he can show up. He can show you how smart he is, how he figured it out, what he learned, how much fun it is, let's do it again. I mean, that's the key right there.
Yeah. It's he knows, like, I like crystals and stuff like that. Every day comes home with a pocket full of rocks for me. He's sure that I don't have one that's exactly like that. I mean, so he wants to be involved, in what I'm doing.
Boy, I really like this little guy. What is his name?
Bruce Wayne, just like Batman.
Say it.
Bruce
Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. Cool.
Yeah.
So what's he going to do for Halloween this year?
I like to buy their costumes, but their mom kind of likes to do a theme with all of them part of a group. So I've had to step back a little bit from that. Halloween's my favorite, so I like to just go and, let them buy whatever they want. He says he'd like to be a mummy or a Power Ranger, but I think that they're going to be something that there's 4 of them, so they'll all be part of this group,
Right. Well, that's all right.
Yeah, it's still fun.
Yeah, it is fun. So, Kathy, we thought we lost you.
My computer froze. I had to reboot.
Are you having storms where you are?
Earlier today, but not right now.
Okay.
Everything seems to be freezing. Facebook's freezing.
It is.
Tried to start it a couple
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's okay. They see that they can't get rid of us, you guys.
No.
So, what other questions do we have around our insight today, or about your journals? About how you're doing with your journal writing?
I think the journal writing is going good. I think I'm going to have to get another number 3, though.
Right, I know.
R3, right.
Right. Yeah, so...
I figured that would last me about 2 months if I put dreams in there also.
You know what, you guys? Yes, and it's designed to do that.
Right.
And then in the front, you're talking about the journal writing book, right?
Yes, number 3.
Yeah, in the front, it gives you the ability inside the first page to write down what journal that is, so that you don't get them mixed up. So it's, it's easy to follow them,
part
right in the
3.
beginning. Yeah. Well, here's the journal writing book.
Yeah.
Yeah, we figured that. Actually, Ray's the one that figured that out. I'm going, how many pages should we have in this thing? And right in the front, you've got journal number and the date from and to. Okay,
I didn't notice that.
In front.
Yeah.
So you keep your journals in order. That'll be journal number 1 that you've got. And that's the best one because that's where you started.
Yeah.
It's always the best one. I don't mean the best, but I mean it's special because it's how you started. It's your first steps out.
And looking from one to another, you're going to see in a hurry how much you progressed.
Yeah, that's the key. And so you've been writing in it enough to start daisy chaining these things, right, Joy?
What do you mean by that?
Like page after page, as you progress through your journal and you keep writing in there what's going on, how it made you feel and dating
Yes.
it. Moving. Okay, so what have you gleaned from it so far? Or have you done a review yet? Have you gone back to your journal
Seen patterns.
and looked through this is actually my guided journey, but look through the sequence to see the connection,
Any patterns showing up.
the connections.
Well, most of them, I get confused with the feelings because it might be, I asked for guidance and I got it and I felt like, okay, good. But it's the next part, what I realized, which I think is more important because that's where I see my connections.
And what part is that? The part that you...
Right under write down how you felt is write down what you realized. And what I realized is, I'm like, oh, okay, I get that now. But, how I felt might have been just sort of like, oh, okay, I got that. Thank you.
Okay.
So what have you realized?
But what I might realize out of it is, let me see. This one says, there are things in motion that I don't see. And something might be delayed, but it's being delayed so that something better is going to happen. And I need to be patient. So there's more, I get more, unless I'm doing it wrong.
No, you are doing it perfect. Okay. And here's why I think that you're having a problem with how it felt. Because you jumped right into what you realized. It doesn't mean that's wrong. That's your style. That's why those questions are in there. Everybody has their own style. And if you're not one of those people, every time, for example, Ray tells me a dream every morning, it's the ritual back and forth we do. And I ask him how, and so Ray, at the end of the dream, how did that make you feel? And he always goes, he takes him a moment, he's got to pause and go, sometimes he'll go, I don't know how it made me feel, Linda. It's like an annoyance. Okay, but then I go, okay, Ray, just take a moment. And I know you have to make calls and you've got stuff going on, but just take a moment to remember how it felt. And sometimes I have to take a little more time with him to get him to go there. Otherwise, he'd go right into what he thinks it means or what he realized, right? Yeah. That type of thing, right, Joy? So it doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong at all. It's your style. That's the way you are, So eventually, you will be able to penetrate that, how it made you feel. But you need to come from what you realize. That's what's working for you right now. So stay with that.
Okay.
Well, plus, if you're realizing that things are in motion that you can't see, you don't know how to feel about them because you don't know what they are.
That would be a perfect example. I'm a work in progress, and you're asking me how it feels. But there'll be times when you just have a feeling. It's like, wow, the feeling was really, really strong. And this is how it felt.
And sometimes you can have the feelings before the realizations. You can imagine how something feels or would feel in the future if it happens, but it hasn't happened. You haven't realized it yet.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. Don't move off that. Stay with that, and let the rest of it just kind of grow, as you go forward.
Because you had said, if
We're locking up again.
Darn it.
because you felt like that was good information, and so I thought, well, maybe I'm not just doing this right,
You're fine. What'll happen? Here's what's going to happen as you move through your journal writing. I'm going to grab part 3, the journal writing, and you go through this, and you're going to look through what you wrote. You're going to go through it, and you're going to say, okay, let me get my glasses on. Okay, write down what you realized. And just before that, number 4, it says, write down how this felt. What'll happen is you'll write down what it was first, right? Write it all down. And you get over to this part and you go, okay, you review what you've got and you see all these, what you realized, and then you start thinking, well, that seems kind of black and white, what I realized. And then you start you start looking at it and going, I'm beginning to connect with how that felt. I need more information. And that's why I need to now maybe go back and review as I flip through the pages of all my writing and write down as I reflect on it, how it felt.
Or how you feel differently about it now that you've realized more.
But you want to write down what you felt at the time. There's enough information about what happened and what did you realize. All right. Now when you reflect on it, you can actually look back at it and go, I remember how that felt. That might be where you pick up that part. It's like taking the journey in part 2 of My Guided Journey and starting on chapter 15, okay, and going back to 1. You're just doing it your own way, but be open to that happening. That might be where that shows up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because what will happen is you go through it. Why do you do a review? You do a review because you're looking for what you couldn't see at the time that it happened.
Right.
And when you do that, you're going to find yourself reaching for more. And that's where how it felt will start coming out of you.
Plus, as you do reviews, you realize new things. You realize more about what you realized at that time.
Right.
It kind of completes itself as you.
And Ray's right. The way that happens is it's through connecting the dots. That happened on that day. Then the next day this happened. 2 days later that happened. A day later that happened. A week later that. And oh my God, I go here and I go back to this one and look at how that was warning me or telling me what to expect, and there it shows up right here. It seems like when Ray says patterns, it seems like my MO is when it comes through, when I have this insight, this realization come through, that if it's prophetic, it shows up 10 days later every single time.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing you're going to start seeing. That's how valuable this is, okay? So when you write down what you feel, just let it happen in review. Let it show up there.
Or you'll find
and write it in there.
You'll find patterns that show up and say, every Friday this happened, or every Friday I felt like this. Why? And that's the way you put the rest of it together. Why every Friday do I feel like this?
Right.
Like every Sunday when I get sad because I know the next morning I'm going to have to go to work.
There you go.
So what are you writing in your journal about, Kathy?
What are you realizing?
Or what are you writing? Yeah.
Well, there is something I want clarity on. Back on the 28th, I had asked the guides if there was any progress on my mom's house. We have my mom's house on the market to sell. And they told me that, and this is where it gets confusing for me. They told me that Nelson's dad was going to buy the house. I don't know who Nelson is, and I don't know who his dad is. Okay?
Right.
He's going to buy it, and Nelson is 3 years old. So that's confusing to me. But it did make me feel very happy that a little boy was going to be able to grow up there and enjoy the property like we did when we were little.
Yeah. So what is the question here?
I just want to know if my mom's house is going to sell soon and what kind of person is going to buy it. And that's when they told me that Nelson's dad was going to buy it and that Nelson was 3 years old.
Okay. So let's get clarity around what you were told.
Okay.
How about that? Okay. And here they go.
First, you are assuming Nelson is a little boy. Nelson could be a pet.
Ah.
Nelson's dad is wanting a place where Nelson has room to run.
Oh.
It's a funny name for a dog. But I could see a dog named Nelson.
Or a cat.
Yeah, that is cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
There's definitely room.
what,
Yeah.
what you want to do is, and Kathy, so you can, here's what I get with you. You need to take the pressure off your sessions.
Okay.
Okay, so instead of going in there and hitting it with questions like that, really are kind of nerve-wracking, actually. It always feels like there's a lot on the line. Is it going to sell? What do we? There's all this kind of stuff going on, and I would work on things like your own personal growth.
Oh, I ask a lot of things like that too.
That is good. Okay, and don't ask anything. Just let them come through. Just let it go, and just for the fun of it, see what they have to say, and really focus your mind on not thinking of a question or anticipating any kind of outcome. Just let it all go, and just let them come through. It will feel loosey-goosey in the beginning, like you're kind of floundering. It'll feel weird because, you're a hard driving woman there, Kathy. But you've got to really just let it all go. The more that you guys can learn to do that, really let it go, and just let whatever they want to talk to you about, come it through, and just keep yourself focus on staying out of the way. Just focus on staying out of the way, no matter what it takes. That's your job. Stay out of the way. When you get your journal out and you write in your journal, and you're writing what you're doing, you're conscious, you're writing in here what's going on, but a part of you is just open. That's that out of the way thing. That as you complete it, you start seeing things, and you keep moving through this. You're going to start seeing the more that you are out of the way. You're going to see the result of you being out of the way. You're going to see them, the guides, start, dropping one-liners in and sneaking stuff in on you. In Guided, I talk about it. I talk about the different times they came through, and I always called it their one-liners. And there it was, And I got them all the time. I get them to this day all the time. So I guess I'm just a one-liner kind of gal, with the guides. But I think once they send it my way and they hit me with that, they come in there and they hit me with that one-liner, that says so much, okay? It doesn't need to be long dialogues. It just, whatever that happens to be. And the more that you connect with that and ponder that, write it in your journal and ponder that, the more you're aligning with them, the more you're not missing it, okay? You're aligning with them. So there's a real, you won't know what I'm talking about until you do it. Yeah. So take the pressure off. And I with you, Kathy, I know that you're under pressure. I know that you're in that job longer than you wanted to be, you know? But are you going to retire at the beginning of the year?
I was going to, but
Yeah.
not anymore.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Kathy, I got to tell you something. I think that's a good idea. I had a feeling about you like a couple days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, and it was Kathy should not quit her job.
Yeah. I know I haven't thought about quitting my job since December.
Okay, and here's another thing about not quitting your job. It's going to keep you young, and it's going to keep you sharp.
Okay.
Okay, so there's some benefit to it that, I don't know, there's something else to it too, but that is excellent for you. In other words, what's going to come from this is going to be like your saving grace. All right? Something's real good about you keeping this job. More than the money.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of them saying it, I said it. And anything else you have to tell Kathy?
Watch how you formulate your questions. Is it going to sell? Screams of doubt. How about when it sells, what will the circumstances be that cause it to sell?
Okay, they're talking about the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what, Ray?
Well, it's not. Is it going to sell? I mean, that's.
It's going to sell.
You're not doubting it. Is
No.
it going to sell?
Right.
You want to know when it sells. Who will the buyer be? What will they be like? What will the circumstances be that will cause it to sell to that person?
Right.
What will appeal? What part of the house's appeal is the perfect person?
Or here's a question I would ask. This would be my question. What is it about selling this property that I need to know that I'm not aware of right now?
Yes.
Because I'm one of these people that doesn't like to be caught off guard. And of course, you know, everything's random. I mean, it's not random, but everything is meant to happen. It's going to happen. You can't, it's part of the contract we signed up for. But I always like to have, you know, a little sense of what is going, if I'm not connecting with it, what is it? Give me a sense of this. So, I mean, I like having something, you know. So that's a way to do it. That's a little on the humbling side. And it keeps you clean. You know what I'm saying to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
About your question and your expectation for an answer. Because it's hard to ask a question without having some kind of, you know, outcome in mind. It's so hard to do that. You know, I could ask a bunch of questions right here, and the outcome is like, we just build this stuff up in our heads. So it's getting out of the way. That's not how we work with the guides. It's like, here's what it would be like. It would be like walking up to somebody and talking to them about something and wanting them, expecting them to say something to me, I use myself, to me, that I want to hear. But I never hear them say it. No, I wait. It takes an hour. I've given them a whole hour of my time. Please, I'm waiting for you to say that. You know, my expectations, what I'm looking for an outcome, right? So it's the same thing when you sit with your guides. Just don't do that, because what's the point? I'd rather just hear what they have to say. And if I really am, here's how I feel about it, the guides, it's the same analogy. If I'm really open to what they have to say, and I make them so comfortable with knowing that this is the way I am, that I'm sincere about that, then I'm gonna get to hear the truth. I'm gonna get to hear more than I would have heard had I just been like this.
Yeah, asking, is it going to sell?
Same with the guides.
Will I ever have the job of my dreams, or will I ever find the perfect person in my life? That's coming from doubt
Or lack.
and lack.
Right. And you know what, you guys, we're not used to, we're so conditioned to do that. All right. And all we have to do is catch ourselves, write it down. Because this is the best, this is how you're going to stop that stuff. And
Right.
you're going to raise the bar. You're going to do it so fast when you start watching what you're doing and catching yourself. This is the most fun, too. You'll look back at your life and go, holy cow. Oh, my God.
I actually asked that.
I've come a long way, You're going to see the growth, You can't not see it. So, anyway, that's just basic stuff. That's if you guys follow that, you get where you're going really faster and clearer, and there is no doubt because you didn't trick yourself into it. You trick yourself into doubt.
Making stuff up.
We trick ourselves into it. So are we still alive there, Ray?
We're still alive down
Guys.
here on this screen. That screen,
Well, that one's all right. So do we have any other questions tonight, you guys, that you'd like to ask before we close this? Can they hear us, Ray?
yeah, you can hear us, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions. Do I, sometimes I feel like I know what they're going to say next, but I let them at least do the first letter.
Perfect.
But can I be causing that to go to that letter just energetically?
I'm going to answer that because I know the answer to that for you.
Okay.
They sometimes and sometimes not. So do you see how that gets you in trouble? So when do I do it, and when don't I do it? So what about if I don't do it all the time? So when the information comes through, I know I was out of the way. Yeah, it does take longer. It does. To wait for the whole word to come through, It does take longer. But I'm gonna give you a percentage. I'm gonna say 35 to 40% of the time, you should wait for them to spell it out. All right.
Okay, that's a big percentage.
I'll say it that way. Yeah. So I would, in terms of, and what it is, Joy, is we're rushing it because it can be arduous to work with the talking board and use the pendulum and come on. We want to get the
immediate gratification.
Right.
I want it now.
Yeah.
It's just our nature, you guys. And I'm not picking on us, but we all have that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
So the discipline in really perfecting this is, and when I say perfected, I mean the information is valid. It's not just, what you want to hear or what you thought you heard, because you were impatient with the process. Is just to take that 15 minutes and enjoy it and let that process show you your way. All right. And what I mean by that, this is the training wheels to get your intuitive juices working again. All right. That's what this is. So you may find that when you do the writing, Joy, that as opposed to this is where the information just pours out of you. Or it might be that this is good, but this is where the information pours through you, okay? Just go with whatever feels right to you. Okay? Don't worry about it being right or wrong, too much of this, not enough of that. There's no such thing, you guys. You work with what you have. Kathy, when you're at work, and say you take your journal with you, and you go, at lunchtime, I'm just going to take that 15 minutes, I'm going to bring my little book with me, and I'm going to write in there, just how I feel about things. Not anybody in particular or anything in particular I want to know, but just how I'm feeling. Some days I feel blue, and I write about, why I feel, why I'm feeling this way, what's making me feel like that. And I just write it in there, and then I talk about how it felt or what I realized, or, and the last one in here that we have in this journal is, what action did you take and how did you apply it to your life? It might not be the action that you took, but it could be the action you intend to take.
Right. A good example would be like, if every Friday you feel down in the dumps, but you don't understand why, you haven't had the realization yet, you know how you feel.
You don't have enough documented yet.
Right. So pretty soon, as you document from week to week, what starts to show up is, well, you're with somebody every Thursday, some person, that makes you feel bad the next day.
Yeah.
So the action you need to take is to get away from that person.
Okay, so Kathy, here would be another one. You're going to be at your job longer than you had anticipated, okay? You could write in your journal, just, throughout in the daytime, when you have a break, when you take a break or whatever, why do I feel like this? I'd like to know, and you're asking your guides when you write in here, I'd like to know why I feel like this. Why don't I feel, da-da-da-da-da about it, or whatever you feel inclined to discuss with your guides. This is discussion time that you're having with your guides when you write in here, okay? So use it to do that. And because the reason I'm saying that to you, Kathy, is I know that you were thinking things were going to go different for you about a year ago,
Right.
And then things took a turn in the way that it did, and there's no accidents. There's just no accidents. So what is this? And it may take you a little while to flesh it out. Whatever you do, you be kind to Kathy as you work through this, and you write it in there. And you might even cry sometimes and go, this, why don't I know what this is?
I cry a lot of times.
I know.
My guides, I cry a lot. They'll tell me something, and I'll just.
Well, there's not anything wrong with that. So you write it in there, and you just wait for the answer. Just hold the space for the answer to come through. It could come through your dream. It could come through on one of those days when you're driving to work. Bing! It just pops in, and it's clarity. It's like, oh my God! Or it could come through your talking board. It could come through somebody just walking up to you and just saying something to you, and you go, oh, wow. There it is. That's it. That's what it was. Write it in here. Keep it going, Mm-hmm. And this is how you guys you're going to clear everything up, all right?
Linda always says that the crying is a sign that you haven't healed yet.
Yes.
Linda says that how do you say it? When you can tell your story?
When you can tell your story without crying.
Yes.
Healed, yeah.
You've healed it.
Yeah. But you know what, you guys, sometimes even with me, with, things that go on, that are, that draws my way is, wow, it's really powerful. And I mean, it really hits me hard. And sometimes it hits me for days. So I am still, I'll tell you what, you want to heal? I learned what happens when you write a book. It's like something I was guided to do it. I didn't have any idea just what was in it for me, but this is why I wrote these for you, because these two books, My Guided Journey and My Journal Writing, is your story, okay? That's what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen because I took the journey already. full bore. And there's a lot in there, you guys. There's a lot in there that you don't realize. I'm going to say that. You've got a lot of things that are ready to come out, that are waiting for you to be ready to come out. And you know what? You took the steps. You took the steps. You're on your way. All right? You guys are. And you're going to find out what it is, and it's going to open you up, and it's going to change your life for the better. It's going to stop any conflict or anything you feel like you're missing. What you feel like you're missing will no longer be true. You won't be missing it anymore. It doesn't matter if you're still at that job, Kathy. It doesn't matter, Joy, if the parents of the child, of your grandchild, see it a different way and do it something different, okay? You know, you're still going to be who you are. You're still going to be true to that kid and steadfast and true, not disrespectful to your kids, but you're still going to be who you are. And they're going to be okay with that. Yeah. So that's what it is. And you know, in this journal right here, in My Guided Journey, in the beginning, right on the inside flap, I have My Legacy Too. And the reason I did that is because when you take the journey in part 2 and you actually finish this journey and you're done writing it out in this journal, this is a real gift for someone. It could be your grandson, Joy. It could be, you know, it could be anybody in our lives that this, once we're done taking this journey and these people wanted to know. I've had people in my life that wanted to get into my journals, wanted to read my journals. My daughter was one of them. And she'd sneak in and find my journals. And, you know, part of me felt violated. And I thought, no, you know, if she can learn something from that, then I'm going to have to be all right with some of that intimate stuff I wrote about, you know? And that's what this is. This is the truth. This gets into that real part of you and how you found your way through the darkness and into the light and into the understanding and the awareness. That's how it happened. And they see that and they go, wow, I never thought my grandmother had it in her. I just never thought she did. But reading this, I'm shocked. This is like amazing. Okay, this is what this is about right here. So if you can do it, they can do it. It's passing on the power, you know, and the wisdom.
Yeah.
So, okay, you guys.
told them what we're doing next week, but is there something about the following week?
Yeah.
When we come back?
Well, I have to do that, Ray.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about that. You know, I mentioned that we're not going to be here next Tuesday. We've got to be somewhere, which is so unlike us, you know. But next week, and I'm just going to read this off so you guys have a little idea about what it's going to be, even though we're not going to be there on Tuesday to talk about this with you. It's called Pushed to Your Limit. What does it mean to be pushed to your limit? People say this all the time, but do they really know what it means? Does it mean you hit a wall, something you can't get over or past? Or does it mean that you are just out of options to continue going the same way? Are these limits self-imposed? Do you put limitations on what you can and cannot do? And why are limits even important? So that's next week. This is a good one.
That's 2 weeks.
No, this is next week.
Yeah, next week.
This is October 9th when we're not here. When we're not here. So, however, and we're going to do the closing message from the guides today, before we close today, but I'm going to introduce 2 weeks from now. All right, let's take a look at this. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. October 16th in Linda's Weekly Guided Insights is where you receive the link to join us to talk to your guides, the group, and to us, 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. To be published October 16th, Tuesday morning in Linda's Weekly Guided Insights. The guides will be talking about your connections in the spirit world. People complain that they are alone. This couldn't be farther from the truth. You are never alone. You may not physically have people around you all the time, but what about your connections in the spirit world? Why don't you consider them to be present in your life? Let's do a review of how many and who they are. So that's going to be the week that we get back, all right? And they're going to talk about, it's fascinating, we channel all this information from the guides, the way that they see it. And it's amazing how much help we have, and it's there all the time. It's constant. It's always that feeling. I always go to that feeling, you guys, because, we were born with this. It's like our GPS. It's like something that we have that we need to use more and rely on it more, And even when things happen, like, let's say at work, Kathy, when you're at work and you're up against something where people are, they could be doing better. They could act better. They could be nicer. It could just be, it doesn't need to be like this. And yet, because enough people, abide by this behavior, let's say, that it just makes it draws everybody down, So this connection in the spirit world that we all have, we make, and I know this from growing up and having this connection to my guides like a lifeline, literally, to keep me in one piece as a kid. And everything else around me, it kind of sounded like it was muted, muffled. It sounded like it was out there somewhere. Like I saw it and I pretended really well that I was completely present. But I'm telling you, I really, I cooled it down so I could get through it, okay? So you learn how to balance this stuff out in yourself to stay connected no matter what kind of chaos is going on around you, all right? Or where you think you might like to be better than where you are. We just have to be present. It's a powerful thing to be present. And it's the only way, it's the only way we get any advantage over anything is being present. You can't be in the past, you can't be in the future. You've got to be, you're right here. This is where it's happening right now. It's now. So this thing with your job and where you feel you'd rather be, here's just another thought on that. Who knows what would have happened if you were able to quit your job and you drive down the highway and boom, there, it's all over. Well, damn. You do not know what you're being moved out of the way of. You don't know. I mean, there could be something coming up where all of a sudden, thank God you have that job. You kept that job. And those connections, I don't know. There's just...
Well, that did happen. I mean...
Yeah.
My husband got sick, and I'm the one who carries the insurance, so...
Well, that's a big incentive to protect him, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's other reasons why things happen, Kathy. It's, it appears to be that way, that one thing, but it's always so much more. I learned that, I wrote about it in Guided. While I was doing this, there was all these other things going on that I wasn't even aware of at the time, but they were working for me nevertheless,
Right.
So,
I've grown so much.
Oh,
I've grown tremendously.
I know you have.
Through this process.
I know.
I've grown spiritually through the process. So
You've become stronger.
Much, much stronger.
You have. I know you have. Well, the guides are going to close this session.
And then I have a little news flash after that.
You do, huh?
I do.
Okay. This is Spiritually Aware People, the Silent Majority. And here they go.
The reason people are silent is that they cannot flaunt their progress. Your power lies in your ability to grow without doubt and live without fear.
Let me just finish this. This thing about what they just said here, not flaunting it. Okay, so you're the silent majority, the silent spiritual majority, and then you are around people who aren't.
They're disconnected.
And they're flaunting whatever they have, whatever it is. I don't know, spirituality, a house, a new car, a new boyfriend, a girlfriend. I don't know, whatever. Okay, the best grandkids on the planet. Look how cute they are. I don't know. Whatever it happens to be, they flaunt it. And a lot of people just look at it like, well, that's just the way it is. I'm just talking about what makes me feel good. But, and that's okay. But, you know, it can, the way I see it and what I experience is there's a lot of people suffering these days. And it's just no time to do that. You know, that's just not nice. And while somebody else is having a hard time. And so when we see other people behaving like this in any way, okay, and they don't even mean it that they're doing it. You can see they don't mean it, but they're not getting it.
They're not aware.
They're just not. And but when you see that, you know that they're not vibrating to your level. They're not connecting. Okay, you guys are connecting. You guys are working at this. You're coming back to life again. You're connecting, and they don't even know what it means. All right, so that's the part where instead of spending time with people like that you may have done that before, you may have used your time up being with people like that before. Now you've got your time back. Think of it that way. And you've got more time to have this connection and get who you are and understand this process, all right? That's what it means to you. But you will, when you bump into it now, and as you grow and learn this, it will become louder and louder to you out there, okay? It'll be like, oh, please. You know, I just don't want to be around it. I don't have any time for it. I'm going to spend my time over here, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to help these people because, you know, they can be reached, that type of thing, all right? But you've got to find your own peace, you guys. No matter how you're positioned in this world, you got to find your own peace. I mean, serious peace. I'm not talking about love yourself. I'm not talking about that because I don't believe in that. I believe that when you're following your bliss on whatever level that is, you can't help but love yourself. It's a byproduct of honoring who you are. It's amazing, all right? But you just don't go right out there and start loving yourself. That's nonsense. Who does that? No one does that.
Just like saying, you know, you want to be a great musician and somebody tells you, well, just play a lot of hard classical pieces and you'll be a good musician. It's like loving yourself more.
Right, no. Just go beat yourself up some more.
Right.
That's what that would be.
That's it.
That's the flogging.
Flogging. Go flog yourself. You become a better person.
Flog it into yourself. You know, don't do any of that.
Okay, so in the news, just like in Guided, in Chapter 2, the runaway baby, we had a runaway baby here in Phoenix yesterday.
How old was the baby?
Wasn't even walking yet. It was crawling down the street.
So probably 7 months old or something.
You know, and it just, somebody left the door open at the house, an older sibling, and the baby just took off.
Wow.
We found it crawling down the street, right down the middle of the street. They had a picture of it.
There's something he wanted to either find or
get away from. Yeah.
Get away from. Right. See how early we learn, you guys?
You'd be surprised how many people we talk to when we tell the runaway baby story. That, you know, when she was 20 months old, they go, "Oh yeah, I ran away from home too. I ran away from home. I was almost 3, and they found me down on Pacific Coast Highway." A lot of people ran away.
See, something, even though the little child is just, you know, innocent, right? You know what? That kid remembers. If taking the journey back, you can't, you feel it. You remember the feeling of it, you know?
When you go through part 2, My Guided Journey, you're going to find out what you ran away from.
And we want to hear about that, you guys. We're going to, in these Tuesday events, this is partly why we're here. We have a theme to go by with Linda's weekly guided insights, but the journal is just as important. It's just as important as that insight. It's one in the same.
That's your roadmap.
And that's why we're here to help you guys, all right, as you move through it and you keep journaling. And there's nothing more important. I learned this from dream classes. Nothing more important than having your support group. Those that really get in there. Because, when you guys give me something to go after, I get in there. I get in there. And we look into that and find out what that is if you can't figure it out on your own, or if it's just something that came through. We figure it out. We bring the guides through. We get in there. So it's what we do. All right.
Okay.
We're going to miss you guys next
We
Tuesday.
will. We miss you already.
We do. And we'll be, seriously, we'll be thinking about you guys and going,
Wonder what they're doing tonight.
these guys. And anyway, but we will be back the following Tuesday. And by the way, this Thursday, we're going to be here this coming Thursday for the Ask the Universal channel group. All right.
Yes.
You write in their journals next Tuesday. Well, Ray and Linda didn't show up tonight.
So whatever you guys, you guys come on Thursday, and whatever you guys want to work on, bring it, okay? Let's see how you're doing with your communication with your guides, or bring out your journals and talk about what came through, or if you have your dreams we want to talk about, we'll go over that with you, and the guides will talk with you.
We've been doing a lot of dreams on the Thursday night thing.
Yeah, it's been getting more into that. And, Ray and I are open about what direction these things take. What do we know, right? Yeah. So this is just one of those things where we just let ourselves be guided, all of us. And it all works itself out better than had we planned it ourselves.
Right.
That's the beauty of this guidance, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right? We love you guys.
Love you guys. Maybe see you Thursday.
We'll see.
And then 2 Tuesdays from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We love this. You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Be kind to each other.